Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Out of Bed. My name is Topher. I forgot how to start the podcast, so I'm going to hand it over to my co-host, Matt. Matt,
Hey, this is Matt, and welcome to Out of Bed.
what do we do on this podcast, Matt? I always explain what we do, and I feel like I do it in a very messy, roundabout, and superfluous way. And I feel like you, as a man of class and taste, as you sit at the hallway of the Millennium Falcon, maybe you could give us a better description of what this podcast
Sure,
is.
let me give you a tour of the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
So Out of Bed is a podcast we've been doing for, 2 seasons? We're
the second
halfway
season.
through season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what we do is we bring on our friends, we talk to them, we ask them what motivates them, what gets them out of bed, what literally gets them out of bed every day, what brings them joy and what brings them satisfaction, what are their interests, and how do they go about realizing their dreams. So that's pretty much, I think, a good recap of what we do.
That's a great recap. I'm a little upset that I've been doing the explanation of this podcast for so long, because that was much better. We have been doing, this is our 4th quarantine episode that we're recording. You were not on the last one,
Right.
but it went very well. We missed you very much.
Oh.
And I'm excited to get this one started. So we'll just bring on our guests. So, hey, guest, what's your name? Who are you? What up?
Hi. Hey, what's up? Hey, yay.
It's
me.
Devin McKay.
Hey. I should have put on a fake name before. I ruined this.
Oh, no. You ruined this. This bit is ruined.
I'm out of here.
All right.
Well,
Jesus,
this was our shortest episode of Out of Bed.
This sucks.
I'm back. I changed my mind. I'm good.
All
Hi,
right,
how's
we're
it
already
going?
in the alcohol portion of the show.
Yeah. I actually am not drinking alcohol tonight.
Oh,
I'm drinking agua, which is Spanish for water.
okay.
Yeah.
What does your bottle say? It says Poppy?
It says a lot of things. So this is it says Popple. Popple is a Christian music group. 2 friends of mine, a guy named Dan Harms and a guy named Kyle Hyman, who one plays guitar, one plays ukulele. They do Christian comedy songs. So they're basically what if Flight of the Conchords went to youth group.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've got other stickers that are mostly faded and worn off. Underneath of the Popple sticker, like hidden, like
Is that
kind of weird.
Vans? No.
This was a big sticker, not this one, but underneath of that there was a Baltimore improv group sticker. This is a band called The Real Friends. This
Okay.
is the Pepsi logo with Be More in it.
Be more.
Nothing else on here is important. I got a big old Earth Trek sticker for the one time that I went rock climbing. And people think that I'm a rock climber now.
So,
Well, that's
Topher,
cool.
does that make you the Murray of Popple? Are you the manager of the band?
No, I'm the friend of the band. I'm like, if you've ever seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World,
Mm-hmm.
there
Neil.
is Neil. And he just sits in the corner while the band practices, and then occasionally they're like, "Hey, Neil, come play." And so I play drums for them. I've played drums for them a few times, but I am not an official member or the manager.
But you're a part of the world of Popple, and that's what matters. Like, you'll be in the Wikipedia page of Popple.
Oh, totally. I'm like a part of the Popple universe.
Right. Yeah.
You're
But
the groupie.
I'm basically a Popple groupie.
The PC.
A wholesome groupie. But yes, I'm drinking water because this is actually my first week back at work since all this quarantine stuff started happening, and I have to be at work by 6 a.m. So
Like in the office?
yeah, like I can't work from home, and so they had us doing like a week on, week off schedule, and it was supposed to be 1 week on, 1 week off, and then they changed it to 1 week on, 3 weeks off. So I was supposed to have 3 weeks off after this, but now it's just back to 1 week on, 1 week off. So
Hey,
it's
be
all
safe.
very confusing. But I will be drinking for the next episode. I am certain of it. But
Cool.
yeah. Anyway, before we get into the actual podcast, because we do this whole thing, Devin, where we ask you what gets you out of bed, and then you
Mhm.
tell us what gets you out of bed, and then we talk about it for a while. Uh, but I want to get to that in a second, because this is like we were saying earlier. This is our fourth quarantine episode on Zoom call. So I want to do a quarantine check-in with you guys and see how everybody's doing.
Yeah. I'm good. I was probably sick like end of March, and that was like super scary because it was a lot of like it was like I was feeling really sick, but it was also like the beginning portions where nobody had any answers. So they're like, if you're sick, you're basically dead at this point, right? And so
Ooh.
like I'm just like really worried, and I was only communicating with my family who was in the same house as me through like text message. I'm like, don't come downstairs. If you need anything, then I'll like pull it through a bucket and get it to you. Uh, and I just stayed in my room for like a whole 2 weeks, just not doing anything but like sleeping and watching TV. But since then, I've been sort of like jumping in and feeling a lot better. And now I'm like making stuff all the time, and just like turning this place into a little mini studio, basically.
That's what kind of stuff are you making?
So I found I don't have a Photoshop on my computer because I'm poor. But I found this really great program online that's basically just Photoshop. Like it is exactly all the same things that are on Photoshop. So I've been getting into like vector animation,
Mm-hmm.
and making like little animations through that. And then I got back into painting my miniature figurines because you got to have those painted figs when you're doing those campaigns.
Oh, dude, you
Uh,
can't have the non-painted figurines.
yeah,
It's
it's
embarrassing.
like, especially when you like follow a bunch of Facebook groups of people who are also playing the game, and they're like, "Look at my cool painted figurine," and I'm like, "No, I have to paint them." So I have this game that I play. It's called Heroes of the Grid. It's a Power Rangers tabletop game,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
You
and
just
they
sent up the
have a
Topher bat signal.
Yeah, really.
yeah, and they have like a Shattered Grid, which was their big storyline last year. They have like a Shattered Grid um, box set that comes with the Hyperforce Rangers, which was their like online RPG role playing Power Rangers that they did. This is
Hmm.
like way more information than you needed.
I want all of this information immediately.
And so I like I painted all of the Hyperforce Rangers, and then it comes with like Lord Draken and all these other pieces, and now I'm just like getting them together, getting ready to, you know, figure out how to play.
That's
So
so cool.
So
you
I want to circle back just for a second.
do it.
When you were sick, did you have the thing?
What What are you asking me?
So when you were sick, did you have
Oh,
COVID?
that shall not be named.
Were you down with the sickness?
I don't know. That's the scary thing. I would my honest assumption is yes, maybe.
Mhm.
And I only say that because I got sick right after I got back from New York. We were there for a festival.
Mhm.
So I was just like, okay, two and two together, New York, big hub of all these people, everybody's getting sick, maybe. But it wasn't like I never had like a high fever. But I was like coughing a lot. and all that sort of stuff. So not sure, unsure, unclear. But yeah.
Well, I'm
It was
glad you're feeling better, and I'm glad you're getting them figurines painted.
Yeah, I have enough energy to paint meticulously for a very long time, so it's been working out. Yeah, and I've been watching Power Rangers while I'm painting, so like I'm making the figurines while going through.
I
went through, like,
saw you post about like Time Force, Power Rangers Time Force the other day.
Yeah, that was I watched Lost Galaxy first because that was my favorite, and
That
then
has such a good theme song.
it's an amazing theme song when there's like, I'm not gonna sing, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But I watched Lost Galaxy, and then I watched Time Force, and then I watched the little spin-offs in between the shows so that they connect more. And then I just started Dino Thunder last night because apparently that's like the sole successor to Mighty Morphin, which everybody says is like the second. They're saying that's the second greatest of the season. So I was like,
Really?
let me check out this. Yeah.
I enjoyed Dino Thunder a lot, and I watched it. I remember watching it as it came out because Tommy was in it. Like they had announced that Tommy was going to be in the series, so I was like, "Oh, I have to watch this."
Yeah, he's a
because I have a Tommy background right now.
Tommy, I got lights in my background.
But
I feel like Ron Burgundy right now. It's like, yeah, I have no idea what's being talked about. It's like,
no, I'm sorry.
It's a different kind of nerd, Matt. You're busy like hanging out on the Millennium Falcon, and we're hanging out with Zordon.
Yeah, we can talk. I can talk Star Wars too if you want.
No. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay. If you want it, I got you. I can talk any nerd sector. I think almost every nerd sector.
Just before we hit record, Topher was like, "Oh, you're too old for Power Rangers." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And then all of a sudden, you started talking, and I was like, "Oh, I'm too old for this."
Yeah, well, we're talking like we're talking the later seasons for sure. Like you're probably not too old to understand. Like you're not too old for Mighty Morphin, but
that was on in the afternoons, like in my house, even if I wasn't watching it.
Yeah, but like, what was the last season you remember? So there was Mighty Morphin, and then Zeo, and then Turbo, and then Space, and then Lost Galaxy.
And then
have we lost you yet, Matt?
Oh, you lost me after Mighty Morphin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. One of the randomest things, this is such a sidebar, one of the most random things about this show that I hate is that apparently the creator of Power Rangers does not like showing like people having like intimate relationships. So characters will have these really strong relationships. They're like obviously super into each other, and then their faces will get really close, and then they'll just like hug. And then you're like, well, what is this? I waited several episodes to see the big heroes kiss, but then it just does not happen.
That explains so much about Tommy and Kimberly.
Yeah, they're apparently Tommy and Kimberly are the only characters in Power Rangers in the last 25 years to kiss on screen.
When did they kiss? I remember a lot of hugs.
I think it was like season 2 or 3 or something like that. It was very brief because he's not even with her after season 3. So it's
because then he gets with Kat. I can't stand Kat. I'm so Matt. You wouldn't like Kat.
Breakup, or like was it just unspoken?
Didn't she like leave to go to the Peace Corps?
Yeah, she left the show. I think she went to the Peace Corps, and then Kat replaced her, and then and then Tommy and Kat like got together somewhere in Zeo/Turbo.
Yeah, and they had zero chemistry.
And then if you jump like years in the future to like an episode that came out probably like 2 or 3 years ago, they're married now and they have like a kid together.
Wait, Kat and Tommy?
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's a whole book about it.
No, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, read.
Because I remember there's an episode, they have the Forever Red episode where it's like all the it's like I think it was the 20th anniversary
Something like that.
or the 15th anniversary. They were like getting all the Red Rangers together, and Jason has a line in it where he's like, Tommy's like on the beach like kissing on Kimberly or something.
Yeah. They do not go together anymore. They're like he's happily married, settled down. He's a school teacher, and he's got a kid. So
I don't.
that's your childhood.
That's yeah. Well, as much as I could talk about Power Rangers forever, Matt, how are you doing with quarantine?
I'm doing okay. I get walks in, and if you had told me like 2 months ago that I'd be walking every day, I would think you would be joking.
Yeah.
But it's the way I stay sane. I go on these walks down trails. I cook a lot. I've been making
Same.
a lot of stuff, and like that keeps me level. Never thought I'd say that either. But I smoked 3 racks of ribs on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm sleeping later than ever, which feels amazing.
Yeah.
Like rolling out of bed, taking a shower, and then jumping on the first meeting in the morning is pretty awesome.
This week has been rough getting up after before this I had 2 straight weeks of getting up whenever, and so like getting up at like 4:45 is pretty rough right now. But tomorrow I'll get off. Tomorrow is my last day of it, and then I have a week off. So
good for you.
Yeah. I had things to say about the things you said. So you're cooking more than ever. I love that. So Devin, Matt cooks a lot of meats. He likes smoking things, and he's very good at it.
I got decent at it in the last 2 years. And I feel like every podcast now, it takes a 4-minute diversion into me like waxing philosophical about smoking meats.
That's fine. It balances out the 20-minute sidebar that we take about wrestling every time. So
right, or the like 10-minute Power Ranger rant we just did.
we spoke on Power Rangers for a little while there.
I was like, I nodded off for a second, and then I woke up and I heard that like somebody got married and had kids, and like there was an unrequited love.
Yep.
And Kimberly put a hex on somebody or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Somebody was smoking meats.
So you were listening. you heard it all.
It was like the monkeys were turning in my head like Homer Simpson. They were playing music.
Yeah. The monkeys are not turning in my head. Sorry, the monkeys stopped turning because I was trying to make a joke about the Simpsons. But they've been a joke for the past like 10 years, so who cares?
Season 9, but yeah.
No, what?
Season 9 of Simpsons is garbage, but yeah, I agree with you.
They've really been downhills. Anyway, I feel sufficiently updated in your quarantined lives. And I think now is the ever important question that we asked Devin. And Matt, since you did such a good job with the intro, could you just ask him the question too?
So, what gets you out of bed these days?
Sure. These days are like completely weird times, right?
Yeah.
I think like if we're talking like specifically quarantine days with DAZE, it's mostly like communication, like wanting to connect with people in a impactful way, and just like and that I guess even maybe like that love of like, are you okay? I just want to make sure that your life is great. That's what's really like getting me out of bed every morning is like I know that I have to like call my parents, see how they're doing. I know I have to call my friends, see how they're doing. I know I have to like check in on my improv community, which is very important to me, and then also just like finding interesting ways to do that, whether it's like making something and say like, hey, I'm thinking about you guys, or if it's like or if it's just like I don't know, connecting through social media. I'm blabbering. Does that make sense?
No,
Yeah.
that makes total sense. Like when you like, what's your chosen way of communicating? Are you doing the Zoom thing like everybody else, or are you doing the phone? Like you mentioned, phone calls. Like phone calls feel like they're almost passe. Are you? Is that your chosen best way to do it?
Yeah, if it's like an improv related thing, I'm almost always connecting through Zoom. I talk to a lot of my friends on Instagram as well, like through the Instagram video chatting service, which is really cool because that way I can like be connected to my friends, talk, like seeing their face, chatting, and then also checking social media at the same time. So I get like a little bit of both worlds. So I use a lot of Zoom, and then I use a lot of Instagram video chat services.
I didn't know that they had that. I gotta look into that because that
Oh
sounds
yeah, it's
interesting.
really good. You can like if you go into like the message section and then click the little video camera icon, you just get like a regular old video screen, and then you can still do the like funky filters while you're talking to people, so you can make like weird faces and take
Oh, that's fun.
pictures. It's a
Nice.
whole thing. It's a whole world. Yeah.
That's cool. I've been seeing a bunch of people, and by people I mean ads. I've been seeing a bunch of ads for the House Party app.
Oh, what is
Which
that?
I think it's from Epic Games, like the same people that make Fortnite and that stuff. And it's basically like video chatting, but then there's games within the video chatting.
Oh, okay.
So like you'll be like video chatting with the person and you'll see like their faces, but then like a question, like a trivia question will pop up on the screen and everybody just taps their what they think the answer is, and it
Okay.
tells you who's right. And they had other things on there too, like I think there's like the ability to like share your screen and maybe do like Netflix or YouTube or something like that.
Be great. I tried Netflix Party, but it's not as great as I thought it would be because it's just you're watching your own Netflix screen, and then there's a sidebar
There's
with
just like a chat bar.
yeah, chat bar, and it's like that's okay, I guess, but
Hmm.
it's not the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I just started a new RPG campaign last Saturday, and we're doing that over Facebook, like the Facebook Messenger video chat, which is also
Mhm. That's
very
cool.
good. So, you know, if this was a BuzzFeed list of top 5 video chatting services to use, it'd go um, Instagram's at top,
Okay.
Zoom,
Hmm.
what was House Party?
Yeah.
House Party sounds dope.
Yeah.
And
A
then
little
we got,
disappointed with the lack of kid and play in there.
I mean, you could add them to the House Party
Hmm.
theoretically.
I don't
No,
think you could really have a house party without kid and play.
nope.
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. um. So that covers like your quarantine DAZE.
Mm-hmm.
What gets you out of bed like when this is all over? What do you think is going to be getting you out of bed then?
It's gonna be just like improv. First of all, that's like my first love. Getting out there and then just like getting back into the world of comedy, which is sort of like my jam. Comedy is sort of like my driving force in a weird way. I don't want it to be like, because I feel like whenever people like have conversations with me, they're always like they always think that that's like my sole identity, and I definitely don't want that to be it. But it's definitely like I feel like I have a lot of I feel like I owe a lot to it because it's taken me so far in my life. Like it's been the thing that's like made me an expressive person and a person that like wants to be a part of the world and connect with other people. But then it's also like studying comedy got me on my first plane, and it got me like to all these different places around the world just by like using it as my like tool of the world. So that, and then making money, getting back into the money making world as a freelance artist. I feel like that's, you have to be hustling 24/7, and this is definitely like a big detour for a lot of freelance artists. I had like a couple jobs lined up uh, early March, and then all of them got canceled or pushed. So now it's just like, oh, now I have to like get back onto the grind, especially because I was gonna move at the end of the year. So, like, I have to re-up that money now.
Yeah.
Just like,
Is when I can't remember if you said earlier, but like what's your main medium for freelancing?
it's probably it's two things. It's performing, or it's like, no, it's like teaching, and it's also video. I do like a lot of video work around town.
Okay. Is that your main job?
Yeah, teaching is probably my main job because I do that at least like 3 times a week. But video is probably very close to that, like secondary.
So have you done the improv via Zoom yet?
Yep, I do. I'm on a team that performs every Saturday night on the big live stream. Yeah.
How
Top
did it go?
What'd you say?
How's it going?
It takes like a while to get into. Like I'll be honest, like when I first tried it, I wasn't a big fan of it. I was very much in like this isn't fun for me world. Like it felt less like let's try this fun new thing, and more like let's just like continue doing what we've been doing. Like we're doing improv, but we're doing it through a screen now. And it was like, no, there were so many things about improv that I loved, like the connection to the audience, and like being able to be in the room with my friends and like feeding off of their energy. And now I have to like feel it through the video screen. It's not the same.
Did you do it live or did you record it?
We would do it live.
Wow.
We do it live on Zoom. We hit record, and then we're just doing it live, and then it stays there forever, forever ingrained on mine.
Yeah, last week we had Nate on the podcast, who also performs at Big. He performs on the Friday night shows, doing the live stream, and we, my team, Mouth Stuff, did it. Like, we did the Face Off Brawl one night, which actually got taken down from YouTube.
Oh,
because
no. Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
And I think it was because YouTube is doing a lot of they're trying to do a lot to make sure that misinformation about COVID-19 does not get out, and people are not misinformed about the pandemic and given false information. And so the Face Off Brawl is like, when we do it live, normally it's supposed to be this very aggressive, like, two teams are battling, and they have a host who's usually Justin Eifert, and he does a lovely job. But he like put on this character of this very aggressive, like it sounded like this aggressive Southern man that was like a conspiracy theorist, like saying that like us doing improv was fighting COVID-19. I think YouTube took it down because it seemed like he was probably saying that you could cure COVID-19 with improv.
And they're like, impossible. No,
that's impossible. That's fake news. We gotta get that fake news out of there before you get everybody start trying to yes and the hell out of this disease.
Signing up for improv classes all over the world. That'd be the worst thing ever.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was fun. But it definitely is, I think it is a different thing than improv in front of an audience. Like you said, like we weren't treating it as a separate thing. We were just like, oh, we're just going to keep doing it, but on the computer. and it doesn't really work that way. You have to treat it as like its own separate entity and kind of give it the respect it deserves, I guess.
Yeah, and we've been like I've been talking to a lot of the teachers at Big. Like we've been having these little conferences where we're trying to figure out ways to utilize the online format to make improv work, you know? So like it's a lot of how do you communicate that a scene is transitioning? How do you what's like an interesting way that you can use being in a box to your advantage in a scene, you know? You'll a lot of the like get in here office scenes, the group scenes you'll see are basically going to turn into like get in here video conference call scenes.
Yeah.
But I think that when I was teaching a teen improv intensive, and it got caught up in the coronavirus stuff. And for their showcase, they still wanted to have a showcase, but it was going to be online now. So I had to like find a really like interesting way to make online work. So I came up with this like plan to take them on like a virtual adventure of sorts, a la D&D. So it was less like we're all in our room and we're trying to like create a scene together, and more like, no, you're going on a journey, and then there's also like an incorporation of improv short games and stuff like that that you can play along the way. And I think that once we did that showcase, I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that can happen on here if you approach it the right way, as opposed to just doing it the normal way. So I think I'm very like interested in how do we take this this format and shake it up a little bit, so that, you know, so that people are actually like getting the experience of being in a live show but online.
When SNL did it last week, they did it taped.
Right.
And like those people are at the top of their games, and they had to like make sure that it was kind of honed and crafted and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SNL at home.
I think they did a really like admirable job, because it the people that produced that show were not hired to be YouTubers, essentially. Like they were hired to produce live comedy shows and produce for television, which is a very different like medium. There's a YouTuber that I watch named Gus Johnson, who gave this really good kind of critique of the episode, the first episode that they did via Zoom call, and talked about what, like, I think for people that really like study comedy and enjoy comedy, I think it was a little bit awkward at times. I think that's fair to say. But because I think that this is new for everybody, and like you said, Devin, we can't just treat it as if we're doing the exact same thing, but now on computers. We have to figure out how to do it in a new way, and I think they're gonna get their feet. I think one of the things he said in the video is like the NBC could have mailed them all like $30 like lav mics to like clip on and plug into their phones, because some of the audio and video issues, even though it was pre-recorded, some of those issues were a little rough. But I think I'm excited to see the new, like the different ways in which they can figure out how to kind of make it work.
Yeah. They've the thing that was a little concerning to me about the episode was just the fact that like each skit was, this is a different corner of the internet. Like it was like, this is the YouTube gamer, this is the master class that you take, this is the makeup tutorial, and it's like you can, I feel like that only works for one episode.
Yep.
So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how they'll take it. Although Weekend Update was perfect. Like I thought
Weekend Update was really good.
was great, because it's just like sitting and reporting the news. So I'm interested to see what they fall back on. I know that Beck Bennett and Kyle Mooney. Is Kyle Mooney?
Yeah, they both had like YouTube careers at the
Right.
beginning,
Yeah.
right?
It's like they were YouTubers back in the day, so maybe they'll fall into some of those old habits, and
Mhm.
we'll get to see some old school like skits that they do because they're
Yeah.
really funny.
Yeah, I think they're. I agree. I think they're gonna get the hang of it a little bit. I think they definitely can't rely on the like different type of YouTuber thing. One, because it will get old after a time, but two, I also like Kyle and Beck are really the only ones that were YouTubers,
Hmm.
and it almost feels kind of disingenuous, or like you're like making fun of it, like without kind of respecting that like you're in their world now. Like
Yeah,
it's not like you're poking at them from afar. Like you're in their space.
you are them.
You are them now. And so uh I think it would definitely help them if they took a look at what some of the other like people are doing in comedy on YouTube, because there's some amazing stuff out there. I think one of the things somebody pointed out was Comedy Central Originals does a great job with the like YouTube comedy game, because they find these creators that they really like and give them the necessary equipment and tools to make their content, and then just let them like do what they do best. And so hopefully they can start to pick up some of those tips and tricks, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. And even I mean, it'll probably be a little harder to do, but like think about the platform that everybody's talking about right now. TikTok is like just a bunch of people at home creating really cool content.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a TikTok once where someone was saying if you want to be like famous on TikTok, or at least relevant, you have to be making at least like 4 to 5 a day. So these people are in their house thinking up like 4 to 5 creative projects that they can do and post within a day. And then like they wake up the next morning and they're going right back into it. And they have people who do skits on there. They have people who just do like silly little minute long things. But I think that's definitely like where they want to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this whole thing is gonna like completely turn over like the YouTube game completely. Like when I look at like people that have settled their like put their lives around being in certain locales, that are now like completely blocked. Like people that are like travel vloggers or like amusement park vloggers, and they go down and they're around Orlando. They can't do any of that stuff now, and like now they're doing like home vlogs, and it's like that's not why we watch you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
you're clearly not on this game. And like I feel like TikTokers are like gonna be able to take advantage of this, like you said, because they're so like the way Vine was at one point, where it was like, all right, we're just like doing this creative energy nonstop. We're gonna push the envelope, and see what we can do in 7 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure like Topher will tell you before all of this started, I was such a big supporter of TikTok. Like I was always telling people about like I was like, oh man, I saw this really funny TikTok, and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like everybody was very dismissive of it. And
Mhm.
now I can't go on like Facebook or anything without seeing people posting, oh, check out this funny TikTok I saw, or like check out
Yeah.
my TikTok that I made. I know like a couple friends of mine have recently just like took a deep dive into it where that's like their main form of comedy. And it's like these things exist for a reason. Like these people, you might think that they're different from you, but like these people are doing the same thing that you're doing. They're just doing it on a different platform. Like you do your comedy on stage, they do their comedy online on this app.
Mhm.
And where you thrive in heightening and game moves, they thrive in making really creative cuts that are super funny to make things work. And It's all the
Yeah,
same. We're literally all in the same business. I guess.
definitely. No, I agree. I think Frankie has like dove headfirst into the TikTok game.
Hmm.
I think like the first week she was like quarantined here, she was just like making like she made like 5 or 6 TikToks like that week, I think. And just really was having like a lot of fun with it. And
I
now
know
like
she's been
every night
good.
before bed she's just like scrolling, like showing me, she's like, okay, you got to look at this one, now this one, now this one.
Yeah, they're great. There's this one TikToker I follow. Her name is Arbakan. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's just like a cool kid, you know. Like they'll post funny little like skits, or sometimes they'll just post videos of them just like vibing out to music, and then that is the thing. Like it's
Yeah.
just playing a song and then vibing out to it. Um, and I think that's like the best part of it is just that like uh, creativity can come from anywhere. Sometimes you're stimulated by like a joke, sometimes you're stimulated by a song, but it's all these people trying to find out what stimulates them in
Yeah.
this one platform, you know.
And I think
The
there's an
dangerous little
audience
people.
everywhere. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Go
Matt.
ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think there's an audience for everything, but like the thing that I've seen from TikTok is that like there are some TikToks that I do not care about at all, that I do not think are funny. I don't find them entertaining at all. But I know that there are a ton of other people out there that enjoy that. And it's the same thing with every artistic medium. There is an audience for what you want to do. Like if there is something, I think that if you are doing TikTok or you're doing YouTube or you're doing uh, Instagram or whatever, you should just go ahead and make the content that you want to make, because you can find that audience regardless of what you're making.
Hmm. Yeah, we so I have a show that I produce. It's a puppet show. It's an improv puppet show, and it's called Big Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been having conversations recently about like how can we like join in on this platform, on this like online platform. And what we're looking into right now, I think we're going to start filming like next week, but we're looking into doing like sort of the hack in the broad city sort of vibe, like
Mm-hmm.
the video chat skits
Mm-hmm.
uh, that they used to do, that Broad City used to do back in the day. And so we're like trying to figure out like how do you record online, but then also like how do you like sync up audio via two webcams, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even a camera. So we're also trying to like jump into that game, but it was just like a matter of like sitting around, and this goes back to all the way back to what gets you up in the morning. It was just a matter of like sitting around and like watching all of these people be creative and like do the things they love. And then it's like, oh man, I used to be able to, like when I was in like high school, I would be in the house just like making the dumbest stuff all the time. Like I would make so many crazy videos that'll never see the light of day. And and I just was like, you used to do this without any sort of stimulation, and now here you are sitting in bed like you'd rather just sleep or watch TV for several hours than to get up and figure out something creative to do. So I think that was like the like call to action from creativity itself, that was saying like get out of bed, write something, share it with your friends, see if you can make it work, and you know, if it sucks, who cares? You're just making stuff for the sake of making stuff. You're not making it for like for some sort of like response to anything, you know?
Well, like the oddest people in the world are never like understood when they're like different in high school. and they're making these things, like people just look at them and they kind of like look down upon them at the time. They're like, well, he's really strange. And then like 20 years later, they're like doing like big, huge stuff. And it's like, wow, he really pushed the boundaries. And, you know, then they're thought of as leaders and they're like, oh, I just didn't see that. I didn't understand it back then. Like people who have the vision to like go pursue something when they're like 14 and 15 years old,
Yeah.
YouTube shines a light on it now, like more like those that are really hungry, like young people are like doing incredible crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think like back in our day, like in our teens, like nobody would have understood it, but now like people are ready to accept it.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I even, like, I remember back when I was I remember back when I was in like 11th grade, me and my friends made this like movie trailer for like Stevie Wonder. Like where like we did like the whole life of Stevie Wonder. It was basically just a Ray ripoff. And the funniest thing about the video to me is like if you ever watch the video, in the background you can actually see Ray playing. so so it's like I'm pretty sure I just like saw Ray and then it was like we can do the same thing with Stevie Wonder. But like
But with different blind piano player.
right, exactly. A different one. They'll never see it coming. And so I remember like we like went full force. I got like 3 friends together. One was the cameraman and one was playing like we like went on Wikipedia and we looked up his like bio and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but you're gonna play this guy because he was his best friend when he was a kid and you're gonna play Barry Gordy and,
Yes.
and we were just like taking all of these like elements and we did like the pencil mustache and like sunglasses from my mom or something like that, and we just went around the neighborhood and made this like Stevie Wonder movie trailer. And it was like I think that it was just a matter of like creating for the sake of creating, you know. It's like we just wanted to have fun and something felt possible in the moment, so we were like, let's make it happen. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of these kids is just like I don't need any like reason or rhyme to why I want to vibe out on camera for 15 seconds to an Earth, Wind, and Fire song, but that's what I want to do, and I'm just gonna share it with you guys so you can get a little piece of who I am. But ultimately, it's just like self-satisfaction, and you know, just being a part of the world. Yeah,
Sounds like the Lonely Island Boys. Like back in the day, they would like just make stuff amongst one another, and then all of a sudden, like SNL wanted it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then, like, or even like the guys behind Stranger Things. They were like 10 years old, 11 years old, running around with a camera making like Spielberg knockoffs, and now they're paid by Netflix to make their
Spielberg
own.
knockoffs.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, Rick and Morty too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Justin Roiland is like a huge example of just like making weird shit that you want to make and then stumbling upon an audience for it. But could you talk a little bit more about Big Monsters? Because I haven't gotten to see a Big Monster show yet, and I'm very interested in like what it is, how it came about, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe a year. I guess that was a year or two ago. A year or two ago, this really poppin' improv team that was a Baltimore improv group, Olga, which was Jen Diamond and Pam Hugie. I'm gonna mess up her last name. She knows who she is. They're amazing. I had been following them for years, even before I started doing improv. But so like 2 years or so ago, they were leaving, and they came up with this play that Jen wrote, and it was called The Alibi Play. And they performed it for one night only. And literally, they wrote it, they were going to perform it, and then they were going to peace out. And of course, everybody in the community came out to see this show. People got like dressed up, and it was like a really big event because we really wanted to support them. And we go to see this show, and I remember very, very vividly the beginning of the show is them doing a stand-up bit. And they, they're improvisers, but they're also like a duo stand-up or stand-up duo in real life. So they're doing this like very funny stand-up bit. It's like Netflix-worthy stand-up bit. And then they get to a point where Jen starts to like forget her lines, and she's just like not hitting the punchlines as quickly as Pam is. And then Jen just says, "I can't do this anymore. We're liars." And then she like puts a sign up on behind her, and then like the word liars just like comes up behind her on the screen. And it felt like I was watching a movie. I had seen them progress through their like comedy careers, improvisers, like stand-ups, and then this was like the everything is fine until one day this happened sort of moment. And it just completely took me so off guard. And then eventually that just turned into this wild play where they're summoning ghosts, and they have these little asides where they're still doing stand-up bits. So it's like half a stand-up comedy show, half a crazy ghost play. But then like also like this was the first time I was seeing either one of them actually like acting. And I was like, oh, they're like really amazing actresses as well. So it was just like a really well done performance. And I remember after that show was over, I went home, and I could not sleep. Like I literally could not sleep. I had this crazy idea to do a puppet show. I don't know where it came from. It just sort of popped in my brain. And I stayed up until 3 a.m. just asking myself, is this possible? And I wish I could even like, it's so, hold on one second. I showed this to like one person before, but it might be hard to find now.
We'll find out.
We'll find out in a second. Do shabba dabba doo bop boo bop boo. Anyway, so while I'm looking for this, so I stayed up until like 3 a.m. I wrote in my journal about the idea. Okay, here it is. And then it's just like, if you guys can see that, like, no, of course you can't because it's a white screen. It was just like me like writing for like hours about like the format of the show.
Yeah.
And when I look back on it, this is like almost nothing like what it actually ended up being like. So I was thinking to myself, is this possible? The very next day, I started like messaging people saying like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this puppet show. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to pitch it to Jen, our artistic director. When she gets back to me, we'll see what happens. And then I pitched it to Tatiana, who is the person who made the puppets. She's a very famous like puppet creator in Baltimore. And I was like, hey, I have this like crazy idea. I want to do this puppet show. I know I don't know you at all. I literally like only knew her because she did one of our Friday night shows that I saw. And I was like, I saw you at the Friday night show. I looked at your stuff online. I think you're amazing. I really want to do this puppet show. Would you be interested in helping me? And how much would it cost to make these puppets? Because I imagine she does like really good work. So I was like, I imagine they're going to be expensive. And she was like, absolutely, I would be down to help you. And also, I will make you 9 puppets for free. And I was like, what is happening right now? I was like, what is happening right now? So she was like, tell me, get your cast together. And then we will move from there. So I got the cast. It was like, boom, here they are. She was like, cool, I get to work on some designs. Had a meeting with Jen. Told her my idea, and she was like, cool, this will be great. And then it just all started to roll from there. Like, it was just all of these things were aligning in a very strange way. And the puppets just like turned out to be like these actual like Muppet style puppets. Like, they're very high quality puppets. And it was funny because like the day before the show went up, Jen was like, or it was like a day or two before the show went up, Jen was like, when you first pitched this show to me, I didn't realize that it was going to be as big as you originally planned it to be. She was like, I thought you guys were going to do like paper bag puppets. And I was like, because up until this point, like, it was a Wednesday night show, which is our lab show. And the lab is like a place for experimentation. It's not like a fully finished product. But for me, my experiment is like making it as polished as possible and then presenting it and then seeing where we can go from polished, like polish should be the first step, and then we'll work on making it even better. So like, I was like, no, we got like a full production, and we had a music producer, and like we had like they came together to make a theme song for the show.
Jeez.
So the show has a theme song. We have like puppets in the balcony who talk crap to the main puppets the whole show. Like, they
Like a Waldorf and Statler?
Yeah. In our show, they're Frumple and Wumple. And the difference between the main puppets and Frumple and Wumple are that the main puppets were made by Tatiana, and Frumple and Wumple are these puppets that a friend gave to me that were just like sitting in her attic. So they have like holes in them, and they're just like these like sort of poorly made-ish puppets, but they're still like, they actually look really, really good to me. Like, I think they look like amazing puppets. But so they think in the show that they're like not worthy of being in the show because they look different than them, and that's a whole thing that we were gonna do. But yeah, it just like turned into this amazingly fun show where we do all sorts of crazy songs. And one time we did a song about Jesus, and that just came out of nowhere. We do songs about cupcakes, and every puppet is almost exactly like the performer that is in the show. So, like our friend Dante, like the puppet looks exactly like Dante, sounds exactly like Dante. So it's just a good time. Yeah.
Had you ever done anything with puppets before that?
No.
Dude, that's scary as all get out.
It is a little bit. I guess so. It was more fun. Like, I never thought that it was going to be bad. Like, somebody told me this thing one time. They said that like ideas pop into different people's brains, and it's somebody didn't tell me that. That was in Big Magic. I read a book. It's called Big Magic. So I read a book. It was called Big Magic. It's by the same woman that wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And in the book, she talks about ideas. And if we're using the Ray analogy, I had just read Big Magic not too long before that idea came into my brain for the show. And she says in the book that like ideas come into our brain, and it's our our decision whether or not we want to accept them. So, you know, like if you decide I don't want to act on this, then maybe somewhere down the line somebody else would have came up with the same exact thing and then produced it, and then you would have been like, oh shit, like that was my idea that I had a long time ago. So I was presented with the idea, and it was such a nagging one that I just felt like I had to do it. And I never really questioned whether it was going to be good or bad. I just always knew that it was going to be solely mine, and it was going to be something that I wanted to do. And sure enough, we did it. And I think like 120 people or something like that came out to our opening night show. It was nuts. It was crazy. And the team was so happy with themselves at the end of the day, and people like were coming up to them, taking photos with them and giving them flowers, and I felt like that was like seeing how happy the audience was and the cast was at the end of it was more worth it than anything else. And then I was even like, 9 puppets that made all this magic for free? That's ridiculous. And then we were like, let's just pay Tatiana. Let's do it. So it's like, of course, for all her hard work, she got paid. And then it was, everything worked out exactly the way it was supposed to.
So what's your vision for it going forward?
That's a interesting question. So in March, we were in New York for a festival. That was our first traveling show, and it didn't go down. We have like applied to other festivals, but you know, with everything being pushed around, we don't really know. But so originally I was supposed to move to California in October, but I pushed it by a couple months so that I can like get myself together. And I think that within that time that I have pushed it, we're going to try to do another show, because we haven't done one since December, I think. So it's been a while.
So, what's the goal with California? Like, the reasoning and stuff for heading out there?
It's the dream, just following it, basically. I looked at all of the things that I do. I'm like making videos, like videography and comedy and writing and even teaching. And I just thought that I wanted to be in a place where there's industry for all of those things, and I could actually like create some sort of career off of them. Not to say that there is an industry in Maryland, it exists, but it's just not as big, and you sort of have to like go to New York in order to get more of that work. But I don't feel like I've lived in the city all of my life, but I don't think of myself as a city person. Like it's not my vibe. So I wanted to go out west. My brother and his family live out there, so they're gonna be helping me like get situated, and I'm just gonna go in, try to get into some companies and try to work with them, you know.
So you're thinking Southern California, like Hollywood area?
Yeah, my brother and his family live in San Bernardino, which is like probably like an hour and a half away from LA.
Right.
But I think it's like a 45-minute train ride or something like that. So, you know, we'll figure all the specifics out when we get there. But
Yeah.
it just feels like a calling, you know, like it's like not only am I like a creative person, but I'm also a person that's always like trying to challenge themselves. So I felt like I wanted to be in a place where there's so much challenge that I'm forced to act, basically. You know, it's like a fight or flight situation where it's like you said that you want to be in this industry. Well, here it is. There's just a million other people also in the same exact industry. And you have to sort of like prove your worth. And I definitely want to, that's what I'm about, proving my worth out here in these streets. Because I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore. That's me sounding tough.
It's like an advertisement. Baltimore, prove your worth.
Like the tough kid from like Boy Meets World or something.
Yeah. I'm like the I'm like Frankie, Harvey's like back is like backup
muscle.
The like I look like I'm just like but I'm actually like writing poetry off on the side.
Yeah, he's got a heart of gold. You're just a sweetheart.
Yeah. But his dad Vader has a pretty mean Vader salt.
R.I.P.
Yep. See, R.I.P. I was able to bring wrestling into it. Boom.
Yeah.
Go me. So speaking of Boy Meets World and wrestling, you and I have very similar pop culture sensibilities. I think that's fair to say. And last week we had Nate on who talked about how important movies were to him. And I think with you, from what I can tell, the pop culture that you consume and that's been a part of your life that you grew up with very much influences the art that you make. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you are there any specific ways you feel that it influences your art, or like are there specific pieces of pop culture that you love to bring into your comedy?
I think it wasn't until I did the puppet show that I was like, maybe this is sort of what I like to bring into my comedy. But I love just like somebody called me nostalgic one time and I was like, how dare you? But then then later I was like, okay, maybe a little bit. Like I do like to think back on a lot of things. Like I like to bring in a lot of nostalgic things. So like the puppet show is like obviously very reminiscent of like Sesame Street and the Muppets, but then also like I'm big into like animation, and I'm big into like over the top fantasy from our heyday. So I do think that comes into a lot of my work. But when I was growing up, a lot of the stuff that I fell in love with was sort of like the naughtier versions of those things, which I think is the direct correlation. So like so I was a big insomniac when I was a kid, and I used to stay up late and watch like The Critic and Duckman and TV Funhouse and Space Goes Coast to Coast, and just like all of these like shows that were like cartoons for adults, basically, you know, like that was my jam. That was sort of like what raised me, and I think that helped to mold the world of what I look at. Oh, and Pee-wee's Playhouse especially, not just the television show, but like the live shows, which were way different.
Early 80s.
Yeah, they were just like completely different shows. But there's something that's really exciting about that whole, this could be for either children or adults depending on who gets what jokes. That's what's cool about it to me. So yes nice. Is the answer to your question, I think.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Usually the best stuff is the stuff that like just sort of jumps genres and jumps age demographics.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I think that's even like what's so cool about Power Rangers right now to me, to bring that full circle, is just that, like, you know, when you were a kid, it was all about the monsters and the explosions, but now as an adult, I'm like getting pissed off that relationships aren't being tied up and like certain people aren't being respected in the show. Like it's just like looking at the same thing from a different perspective.
It's like the sack lunch bunch. Like, I think people have asked Mulaney, is this for kids or is this for adults? And he just says yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's for
Yeah.
everybody.
It's the best type of stuff. The stuff that the whole family can enjoy, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you would like to rant about for a little bit? Like any piece of news or pop culture or something that you're doing currently or watching currently that you want to just, this is your platform. Just go for it, man.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I've never thought I would get to this point in my life. There's so many things I would love to rant about. Um, uh, what do you want to talk about?
If you don't have anything specific, that's fine. I have heard you rant about things in the past, and when you get on your soapbox, it's so much fun.
I can tell you a dumb thing that I'm working on right now, but it's not
Yes.
dumb. It's not dumb to me. But so I'm a huge fan of the band Hall Oates. I'm a very big fan of Hall Oates. Uh, back to that diary I was showing you earlier. It's a Hall Oates diary.
This is the greatest guest we've ever had on Out of Bed.
What's up, guys? Hey. So since like 2012, I've been working on this musical. It's called The Birds and the Bees, and it's a Hall and Oates musical. And I stopped. So tragic story. I'll tell you a tragic story really fast. I was working on it in 2012, and I was like really into this thing. Like, think like pre-Big Monsters. I'm big into writing this Hall and Oates musical, and then I have this crazy story. It's about like two brothers who fall in love with these heiresses to a Philly cheesesteak fortune in the 80s Philadelphia,
As you do, of
which
course.
is where they're Hall and Oates are from Philly.
Please
And
tell me one of them is named Sarah.
yes, one of them is named Sarah and the other's name is Bernice, but there's a reason for that. And so they fall in love with these heiresses, and basically ABC happens until they decide to propose to these girls, and they Hall and Oates Hall and Oates propose to Sarah and Bernice via the song "You Make My Dreams Come True," and Bernice accepts, and then Sarah declines, and then so like all of Act 2 is about Daryl trying to get Sarah back, and it's a whole thing. And so like I wrote this whole story. It was probably like 40 pages. And one day I woke up and my computer was dead. It was completely dead. And I realized that I hadn't backed it up anywhere. Like there was no backup of the play. And so I was completely distraught.
It's heartbreaking.
Go for that.
And I spent all the way up until 2020 looking through like old emails every once in a while and just saying, and I'd like type in different searches and just like see if I could find anything. And eventually, just like in March, I found a version of the play that is 20 pages. And I was like, okay, I feel like I can work with 20 pages. So I've been like going back through and trying to reconstruct this musical again. And that's what like I'm spending a lot of time working on this. But the great thing about it is that like the world is so different from 2012 to what it is now. So, you know, back when I wrote it in 2012, it was very much a Super Mario, you know, like it was it was these two guys going to save the princess to win the girl, and it's like very much centered around them. But like one of my favorite movies of all time is Say Anything, and that's been
We
like
need to hang out, dude.
let's do it. Let's do it. Uh, and in Say Anything is one of my favorite movies because it's like one of the most misunderstood 80s films, because when everybody thinks about Say Anything, of course their first thought is John Cusack on the lawn with the boom box standing outside of Diane Court's house, trying to make her like fall in love with him, and that's like the image of the film. But if you watch that movie, it is very much about like Diane and her father like embezzling money. like Diane's dad is embezzling money from his company, and then he gets caught, and then he's like going to jail. Like that is the main storyline of this movie. And John Cusack shows up, and he's just sort of like, I'm in love with you. And then she's like, wait, what? Like, I just graduated. I'm trying to get my life together. My dad is going to jail. And he's like, yeah, but I love you. Like, let's fall in love. and it's just so stupid. It's so stupid to me, because it's like, in the 80s, that was the thing. We wanted this like movie about a boy who gets the girl that he always wanted. She's like valedictorian, and he's a nobody guy. There's this one line that's like super creepy in that movie now to me too, where he goes to dinner at her house, and then her dad says, "What do you do for work?" And his response is, "I want my job to be loving your daughter." And it's just like, it's like a little creepy, and he's got too much invested into this girl. He like, his two things in life are he wants to like marry her, and then he wants to kickbox. Like, those are his two things in life. So I felt like when I reread the 2012 version of my script, it was a lot like I was getting flashbacks to that movie, because I'm like, oh, we're spending too much time on this guy who's ignoring this woman's wishes to not marry him. And now I'm sort of like, how do we make it so that like you're brought into the world of the story via Hall and Oates, but then like you're sort of tricked into learning that it's actually a story about like this woman who doesn't want to have to like go along with what's being planned for her. Like, nobody wants to have this like planned lifestyle. The new Aladdin is very much similar to that too.
The weird part about Daryl Hall and Sarah
Mm-hmm.
is he circled back to her, and he started dating her again in like 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been on and off for a very long time.
He got married and all that stuff, and then like got divorced in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think that it's a tightrope a little bit too, because I I've been like researching them a lot now, and I'm like, Sarah is a very real person. You have to be,
Yep.
you got to be careful with like how you portray somebody, because this is my fictional Sarah. This isn't the actual Sarah. But like, even I learned like the real life Sarah, like her sister is dead. Like, her sister passed away a couple years ago. So it's like, I'm making this story where this Sarah has a sister who has a very specific like path that she's gonna go down. And like if I always imagine like, is this honoring the person, like the actual person? Because like, if the real Sarah saw that, she might be like, that's not my sister at all. Like, my sister was a very different person from this. So it's like it's a tightrope of like making your imagination but happen, but also honoring these people. But then you also have to like fight with that whole, but this is my thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
One of
this
the fascinating things about, just as a Hall Oates super fan, the fascinating thing to watch them together is I don't think they like one another at all.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
look like they can't stand to be in the same room together, but they realize that they make an extraordinary amount of money together.
Yeah. They're a duo package. You gotta take one with the other,
That's why we
unfortunately.
started doing this podcast over Zoom.
Yeah,
'Cause Matt
I'm
and
Hall.
I.
I'm Hall.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Whatever.
that's cool. That makes
That's
sense.
cool. Yeah.
But I'll say
But
that John Oates is a terribly underrated singer.
thank you.
Yeah.
I am.
And I'm sick.
Do you feel that your Stevie Wonder trailer honored Barry Gordy?
Absolutely not. there's so many like two-dimensional characters in that trailer that just like pop up just to give exposition. It's like, welcome to Motown Records, or it's like, you can do anything you dream achieve. And then
You
they
guys
just,
were the perfect age though for Barry Gordy to rip off.
yeah, that it's so innocent. If anybody ever finds that, if Barry Gordy ever sees that, he won't be like, you stole this. Like, no, I came up with a stupid idea and it was great. And I think I'm even young enough where people, if somebody was to see me, like if I was to go in for an audition and then someone looked me up online and found a video of me playing a blind man very inaccurately. Like literally, there's a shot in the trailer where it's literally just me with some sunglasses on and my jacket on and walking with like a dancer's cane down an alleyway and just like putting my hand side to side to make it
Doing this?
yeah, like I'm doing like a lot of swaying and just like tapping on the ground. Like, that was a real method to me back in the day. But it's
It's not saved anywhere.
yeah, if they see it now, then they'll be like, oh, he was just a kid, hopefully, or they'll be like, cancel.
You need to upload that to TikTok.
Upload that video to TikTok.
Yeah. All the TikTok kids are gonna get every reference that you make in it. I'm sure.
That was a rough video, man. I used to do some rough stuff. I remember I did this one. It was called, I don't even remember the name of the guy, but it was like a very blatant Prince ripoff, where it was just like me laying in my mom's bed, and I had like this like open shirt with like the backwards beret, and oh man, it was like a song about like riding a cloud or something like that. It was like get on my cloud and ride my cloud. And that was like the song. It was just like, what is wrong with you? You all right, fam? Yeah.
Do you have a name for your Hall & Oates musical, or can it not be shared yet?
No, it's called The Birds and the Bees.
Oh,
It's
that's right. You said that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the bird. So there is a Hall & Oates tribute band called The Bird and the Bee, and I wanted to like shout out that band while also giving Hall & Oates representation. So I was just like, we'll just add an S at the end, and it sort of fits because it's like, The Birds and the Bees is like about how men and women get together anyway. So I was like, that fits. It works. It's catchy. It's a catchy little play.
Do you have a favorite Hall & Oates song?
I do. It's this song from their album Big Bang Boom, and it's called Some Things Are Better Left Unsaid. And that song is in the musical, and it's actually like the like my memories all alone in the moonlight. Like that is because it played. I'll set the scene for you. This is like a behind the scenes. You'll love this. It's whoa.
Sorry,
that
but the light just died. That
I
I
thought
had
that was
pegged in.
your 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, that's it. We just got the red light
Frankie wants to go to bed.
from my technology.
Yeah, that's your red light. It so basically like Daryl shows up to Sarah's house and it's the middle of the night, and he like tells her that he wants like answers because she hasn't spoken to him for a very long time in this point in the story. And she's like, I can't get into it. It's just not going to work out. Don't worry about it. Forget about me. And he's like, I can't forget about you. I love you, Sarah. And she's just like, whatever. And so he's like, he tells her, I'm going to sit out here. He's like outside of her. She lives in a mansion and he's like outside the backyard. And he's like, I'm going to stay here until you listen to me. And we have this conversation. And then she's like, well, then you're going to be staying out here by yourself. Peace. And then she goes in the house. And then he like sits down on this like stump and it gets really cold. And he like takes his jacket off and like turns it into a cover. And he's like laying there on the stump. And like Sarah is looking outside. She's like looking through her window, checking and like actually like watching him. And then eventually she just like turns off the light, goes to bed. So while he's laying out there, he starts to sing, and he sings the song, Some Things Are Better Left Unsaid, which if you haven't heard it, is an amazing song. One of the best songs ever. Touches me in my heart. And so the song, the first like verse of the song is like, I feel like I've been run away looking at a darker day, pulling the sheet away from my eyes or something like that. It's very, very poetic. And he's singing this song, and then eventually a light comes up on the left side of the stage, and we see like John Oates comes out, and he like puts his hand on his head and leans up against a bar, and he's just like really distraught as well. And then he starts to sing I Can't Go For That. And then the two songs like blend together, and they blend together very well. I will tell you from experience, these songs blend together very well because there's like a musical break in Some Things Are Left Unsaid that like fits almost perfectly with I Can't Go For That. And then so like they're singing side by side, and then eventually Sarah comes out onto the balcony, and then she starts to sing One on One, which is like sort of her and Daryl's song that they sing together at the beginning of the play. And so now you have like these three songs that are just all coming together in a very beautiful way. And then at the end of it, Sarah goes back into the house, or no, John like walks away, the light goes out, Sarah takes one last look at Daryl, she goes back into the house, her light goes out, and then he like cuddles up while the moonlight just like turns into darkness. And then that's the end of that scene, and that's it. That's scene something like 6 or 5.
Wow, I got chills.
Yeah,
My favorite song of theirs is one that they recorded, but like you can't find it on any albums. You gotta like see them perform it live. Is they wrote it, is Every Time You Go Away.
Oh, I have that song. Yeah, that's on the Greatest Hits album. It's a really good one. I like
Because
that.
like Paul Young did it, and like in like 85, and like they eventually used, there was like a version of it used on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, yes, there is a version of that on Planes, Trains,
And it's neither of theirs. It's like some other group, and it's sort of like the breakdown in the middle of the song.
Is that I think it's a Allman Brothers song?
Well, that's You've Lost That Love and Feeling.
Yeah, is Every Time You Go Away not a Allman Brothers song?
No, Daryl Hall wrote Every Time You Go Away. And
okay.
It was like on an album in like 1980. I think it was Voices or something.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so they performed it on the Apollo with some of the Temptations.
Mm-hmm. That's also an album. Like, that's a recorded album as well.
Like, all of them look coked out of their minds. And like they're singing their asses off, and they're doing the doo-wop dances from like the 60s during a breakdown, and it's like so good.
Yeah, it's Hall and Oates and David Ruffin and Eddie Kendrick are
Yep.
the ones that sing in that. Yeah, I really like that album a lot too. It's a good one. Yeah. Eventually, hopefully my hope is that by the time quarantine is over, I will have a finished draft of this thing. But I work on it a little bit each day, and but between that and like painting and Power Rangers and puppets and all this other like stuff that's happening, it takes time.
I will be in the front row of your Hall & Oates musical.
You get a free ticket. You absolutely get a free ticket.
I'll work stage crew for it. I would love to. I'll help out.
Yeah, you got to. That I would appreciate that. My goal is to at least run it once. Like, I actually wanted to go up. I was even so a friend of mine and I are going to see, because you never know how things go these days. We're supposed to be going to see Hall & Oates in August, like the end of August, at the Merriweather, if that still happens. And my goal is to like sneak a copy of the script up to them. I'm gonna be like, hey, instead of signing my autograph here, take this musical of you that I wrote and enjoy it.
Just a document signing away the rights to your music to some random Baltimore man.
Yeah, please. I know you don't. I know you don't know me. Probably don't trust me, but I've been following you for a very long time, and I want to give you this. And then, like, security jumps me.
Oh man, I saw them at Pier 6.
Oh yeah, how was it?
It was fantastic. It was a fast show. They were probably done in about an hour and 20 minutes.
That's a good concert to me. Don't lag.
No, it was like, hey, let's go through 12 hits in like back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
We don't got to drag this on. Just like give us what we want, man.
They give Oates one solo song, which is like Las Vegas Turnaround. And like a couple years ago they had a song for the HBO show with Stephen Merchant, Hello Ladies.
Yeah.
They used one of the Abandoned Luncheonette songs for that show, and it's mostly just Oates singing.
Yeah, I love songs like Las Vegas Turnaround because I feel because Sarah is in that song as well. Like they sing about Sarah in Las Vegas Turnaround. So it's like you can tell that this is like there's a story of this person that you'll hear over different songs, which is really cool. I love it.
All right, this has turned into the Hall & Oates podcast, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I got something for everybody. I just found out yesterday there's like a phone number that you can call. It's called Call & Oates, and literally if you call the phone number, they'll just be like, if you want to hear one-on-one, press 1. If you want to hear You Make My Dreams Come True, press 2. And you can just like press a number, and then they'll play a song. I posted it. I posted it in the yesterday. They were doing a big live show with Nate, and me and somebody were in the YouTube chat, and we were like, we should post Nate's phone number. And then I was like, I'm gonna post it. And then so I posted the Call & Oates line and said it was Nate's phone number. And I was like, call or text Nate at this number. So I hope somebody like actually calls that number just so they can get the line.
John Oliver just shared it the other day on Last Week Tonight.
Did he really?
Yeah.
That's
like right in the middle of the show. He was just like, if you
he shared Nate's phone number?
Huh?
Yeah.
John Oliver shared Nate's phone number on Last Week Tonight? Wow.
Like, go get Nate.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so great. So yeah, I love Hall and Oates. That is my rant. It
That
turned
is such a
into
good rant. I'm here for it. That was a lovely rant.
a real Hall and Oates rant. So
Yeah,
be on the
thank you.
lookout for Birds and the Bees
Definitely,
eventually.
we will. Thank you so much, Devin. This was delightful.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was a blast.
Is there anything we should plug that you want people to know about?
I guess just it's not much going on right now. Check out Taco Night every Saturday on the big live stream.
Mm-hmm.
We perform Saturdays at 8. And then you can follow me on Instagram. That's D'Angelo. That's DEEANDJELLO. I turned it into a jingle. That's how people remember it.
I like it. It's helpful.
And then Big Monsters also has an Instagram page now. It's Big Monsters Comedy on Instagram. So if you check that out, you'll get all your puppet shenanigans. And I think that's everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We will make sure we link all of those things in the description. Stay safe, buddy.
Yeah, you too. I'm feeling better.
This light is like, I need to end the podcast before this light just like wants
Turn
to
me off.
It's like about to gain sentience and just try to kill me.
That's horrible.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much, Devin.
Yeah, you guys have a good night.
Man.
Yeah, you as well. We'll talk more offline.
Yes, we will. I'm gonna stop recording. Everybody, thank you for listening to Out of Bed. My name was Topher. That guy's name was
Matt.
And the guy that we talked to, his name was
Devin.
Devin, that's right. I was pointing down because in my screen you are down there. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Go back to bed because there's nothing to be out of bed for right now. You can sleep.
Bye.
Bye.